We now want to bring in an expert to give additional perspective on this impact of this conflict.
Yeah, Ryan Probst is with the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. Ryan, thanks for being with us. First, here just off the bat, the Iranians have promised to respond to this attack aggressively. What exactly do you think that looks like, and just how quickly do you think that could come?
So there's a couple of different ways the Iranians could respond based off their past actions. This could take the form of cyber attacks. They could use proxy forces to attack U.S. bases in the region, which they did throughout 2023 until a large strike deterred them from further attacks. Iran could decide to use its large short-range ballistic missile to attack our bases in the Gulf, or Iran could attempt to orchestrate terrorist attacks abroad. But I think underlining all of this is the promise that the Trump administration has made to respond with overwhelming force if Iran does serious damage in the retaliation. And decision makers in Tehran are likely weighing that at this very moment.
Ryan, the U.S. says they want to restart diplomatic talks with Iran. How likely do you think that will be?
I think there's some chance that this works because Iran is faced with the prospect of further strikes against its nuclear program, and sooner rather than later, they might not have anything left to negotiate with. They're probably trying to thread the needle right now between demonstrating strength and responding somehow without prompting additional strikes by the Trump administration. So there is some chance of this, although given the nature of the Iranian regime, it's probably going to be a difficult negotiation.
So we know that immediately no one will know the exact effects of just how much damage these bombs did exactly. But we do know that U.S. intelligence agencies have said Iran was not actively pursuing a bomb. There have been some conflicting information with that. But the president and Israeli leaders, they've argued that Iran certainly had all of the ingredients there to assemble a weapon and one quickly. While we wait to have definitive damage reports, just how quickly do you think that the country could put together such a weapon after the actions the U.S. took this weekend?
So one big question that's left is whether Iran can still access its stockpile of highly enriched uranium. There are some reports quoting Iranian officials that they removed it, but we're not exactly sure on that. If they do have the stockpiles of highly enriched uranium, they could potentially put together a crude weapon, but without being able to test the delivery means to actually get it there via missile or aircraft, they would still struggle to actually employ one. And given how much Israel has degraded Iran's missile force as well as their air force, that could prove to be a pretty significant challenge.
And zooming out here, Ryan, looking at the bigger picture, what could the repercussions be for the region in the coming days and weeks?
So probably the best case scenario is that we quickly reach some sort of negotiated agreement with Iran to end its nuclear weapon program. Kind of a middle of the road option is that there could be a few waves of retaliation back and forth, but then everything quiets down. And probably one of the worst situations, both for Iran and the United States, is that this escalates into a full-scale war. But since both sides have signaled they likely want to avoid this, that's potentially not that likely.
All right, Ryan Probst, thank you for lending us some of your expertise tonight.